Hi, I want to speak about something that I think will be very, very eye-opening and very revealing for very many of you, including myself. So yesterday I had a conversation with my partner, and he was talking about how when he'll do something, or he can't watch more than 2 minutes of Netflix or 2 minutes of a TV, like basically anything that isn't his work, because his anxiety will chime in, and it will remind him. It'll sort of trigger him in the moment, and that's what makes him go back to work. And I wanted to really offer something as a very strong point as to our control really as human beings, right? And our control is, yes, there's anxiety, which really is mental suffering, which is really formed in, it's rooted out of fear, actually, right? So that's that whole mechanism, right? But who we are in our true power is infinitely greater, infinitely more powerful than our mind, right? And even our mind that controls our body, right? Even our body, right? What we are in here is infinitely has greater authority, infinitely of more authority than anything else. And we actually control this whole mechanism. So to even believe, or to even, in that moment, you'll find that your power is actually vested in that thing. Even though you can recognize, oh yeah, this is my mind. No, actually, energetically, your power is vested in your mind. It's vested in the thoughts, the experiences that you're having in your body, right? It's your power is actually already invested in that. And so when you realize, because when you actually come into your true place, what you're actually going to find is that, oh my gosh, over here there is no mind, there is no mental anxiety, there is no mental suffering, there isn't anything that can possibly come and trigger me. And so this really is our true state as human beings. It's not the lower frequencies, right, where our mind comes and because we have already given belief, we already have belief in our mind. And so I remember yesterday my partner and I were talking about strategies, like going back and forth and asking our brain, like, hey, did you mean to do that right now? But or mean to do that thing in my body, or give me that thought right now, which is fine, right? But then there's an even higher position, a higher state, where you actually embody more of the space physically, where you're no longer asking your brain is in service to you, it's in submission to you, and it is your job really to figure out how to enter that state, what that state looks like for you, and how to access it so that you actually remember it, right? Maybe it'll take accessing it multiple times, right? But even once, for you to remember, oh my gosh, in that state, I wasn't negotiating with my brain. I wasn't negotiating with my mind. I wasn't analyzing it. I wasn't dissecting it. I wasn't questioning it. I was actually just being. And the highest truth that I woke up discovering today was that this is just me. All of the thoughts that I have, right? And my specific mechanism is people pleasing. My specific mechanism is self-abandonment. So anything other, right? Anybody else or any idea, any opinion other than mine or other than me is what has historically been playing here in my mind, right? For as long as I can remember. Because that is how my brain learned to survive, and that became its programming. So literally, as I was going through my day, I actually stood outside under the rain, and the rain cleared my energetic charge enough, because literally before that I just felt like I had so much energy just cooped up in my head. Literally at that point it feels electrical, and if you resonate with this or you have any idea what I'm speaking about, it's actually painful, right? There's almost too much charge in your body. And so fear tries to come, and every single moment fear is coming, because on top of your nervous system, which is dysregulated, right? So maybe you're in survival state, right? Fear again is coming again, right? In the next thought, in the form of a next thought, right? And as you're trying to regulate your nervous system, you actually see, oh my gosh, there's more fearful thoughts on the way of this. So what puts that to an end, really? Well, the safest thing, the quickest and most efficient thing that I found, right? The quickest method that I found is really that rain outside really helped me, right? So cold water, a cold shower, to literally disperse or to release those ions or whatever that electrical charge is composed of, right? To actually release that charge, right? And movement, right? If that's not enough, right? Moving your body, right? Jumping up and down, walking, running, whatever movement helps you, right? But then also just consciously in every single moment to remember, right? For me, expression, using my voice is a huge part of remembering who I am and stabilizing in just me. But I think more powerful than anything, if you weren't to do any of those things, right? It's just a simple remembrance, right? Like, this is me. Why am I fighting me? Right? Like, why am I resisting me? How could I actually resist me? How could I actually fight me? Like, I'm the only thing that I'll ever have. I'm the only thing that I've got. Like, it's me. So don't ever tell me I'm going to say something or do something and then second guess myself or doubt myself. That will never ever be. You will never ever find that here again. And it really makes you know, like, how powerful you are. Seriously, because if that's the one thing that you had to do in your life, literally just own who you are, then you know, then anything in my life now is possible. And literally every single dream or goal or vision or idea, desire that you had, like maybe you wanted to live, on your own or do this or do that, everything becomes possible, right? Because that fear is no longer there, because you're now in a different energetic state where you realize, oh my gosh, this is actually this is me. This is actually my superhero mode. This is my potential. This is my high charged mode. This is actually me. And you'll realize that a lot of the ways that you were operating before, right, that were of lesser frequencies, you were just justifying, you were excusing, you were rationalizing, oh yeah, I shouldn't say that thing about my family because, well, it's all fear. It's fear. And then fear takes on different shapes, which go into like behavior analysis and, psychological analysis and all these things. But really the fear is just being you. And I've even had this thought about psychologists and therapists and people who study psychology, right? They're not going home, right, and analyzing who they are, analyzing their relationship. You can't do that. You won't let yourself live, right? You don't truly live when you do that. So the thing is, the way is that you learn, you grow, you study or whatever, but at the end of the day, you let yourself be. And that's really the goal and the moral of the story. Right? You have to let yourself be. So many of us are just, we go our life second guessing and doubting ourselves. It's like I say something or I do something, and in the next moment it's playing here in the form of mental suffering. Why? Right? All you have to do is just clear that out in a second, because you're like, it's me. Right? This is me. It's just me. I don't have anything to resist. I don't have anything to fight. Why would I ever fight? How could I fight why would I ever fight myself? It's literally just me. It's just who I am. And fear is so sneaky. Like, literally, it's so clever. Like, it has infinite ways of manifesting and appearing as something other than itself. But literally, it's just fear, right? All the ideas and the social notions that we have, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. Literally, it comes from fear. And if you've done the work of really coming out of a bulk of the fear that you've carried in your lifetime, and you're at this place right now where you feel like your fear is coming back, or like, it's stopping you again from the person that that you're supposed to be, guess what? You're supposed to come into this again and stay here and remember who you are. That should give you like a power more than anything, because you've done this work. You've sat in the storm. So to revert back, right, to the old beliefs, the old operating system, right? And to even be like, oh my gosh, my body just won't let me relax, or like, I have to distract myself, or the charge is too much, right? Take a cold shower. Whatever you need to do, you need to be adamant, because if you are adamant, if your goal is, right, to calm your body down and be in your optimal state, return to your optimal state, achieve your optimal state, you will do that. You will find the way. And that's why having that intention is so important at the beginning of our day. Like, literally, I wake up and my day is for that. My morning routine is for that. Or if I wake up in the afternoon, my afternoon routine is for that. My entire day, whenever I wake up until I actually achieve my optimal state, is for that. And you have to be relentless about this. Because without that optimal state, right? You're focusing as a less than half version of yourself, a less than optimal version of yourself. And if you've been driven, if you have enough motivation, as for example, if that motivation comes from your health, right? Your lack of health, that you actually need to get into that optimal state, guess what? God bless. You're the luckiest out of all of us. You truly are. If you hear what I'm saying, you truly are. When life puts you in a position, when your body, when your health, when your finances, when your relationship, when your marriage, whatever is like the most severe, when your mind, right, plagues you to a point where this is going to be your discovery. Your optimal state is going to be your discovery. Your potential is going to be your discovery. Your highest state is going to be your discovery. And guess what? It's not going to be a choice for you at that moment. Consider yourself blessed and highly, highly favored, because something in your life drove you to this state, drove you to this point, drove you to the truth of what we all are. Drove you to have integrity, drove you to live your life in a certain kind of way, drove you to be honest. Something disturbed, bothered, plagued, molested, tormented you, made you suffer enough where this became your state. And so it's a really wonderful thing. This is how us human beings change. There is no other way, right? We are left alone to ourselves and no responsibility or no motivation. We would be sitting in bed all day. That's literally what we would do. So whatever brings us to go from that caveman-like old primitive thinking, those psychological beliefs, that rumination, that lack of control over our mind and our body. And if you've had the worst of suffering physically or mentally, you know, right? And you've overcome that, you know what you've had to come out of. So you already know the validity in this. Or if you've succeeded and built anything in your life, you know what you had to overcome in yourself, what that struggle entailed. And literally that climb, that's the same climb that every single one of us has to make. It just looks different. But maybe the climb is literally, it's the same distance, and maybe it feels very much the same. Everybody has that climb. And your mountain is the one for you that's already assigned. It's in your life already. But you know, like if you've climbed that once, you know what it took for you to get there. So you understand the validity of the words that I'm speaking. It is very much possible, and actually we don't have a choice. And if you're at a point in your life where you don't have a choice, right, to provide for your family, to get your health physically, to get your mind right mentally, to get your relationships right, things that are so, like, even just think about your body and your mind, right, how severe that goes. Because other than anything external, right, the two things that could probably be the most immediate, right, even like in a split second that we're experiencing, right, the buzzing or the discomfort or the sensation in our body, right, or the mind that's pinging you every single moment with anxiety or whatever kind of mental suffering. These things won't let you be. They won't let you live. They won't let you exist even past one moment. So you really have to dig and you have to pull, right? Life is forcing you to. You have to pull like into the depths of your experience, of your difficulty, of the mountain, right? You literally have to make that climb. And literally it's that climb that makes a human being. It's that climb that gives somebody something to offer, something to share, because they have made that climb, or because they are making it, or they have made it far enough where they have realized or recognized something that the people around them haven't. And the more you make that climb, the more you're going to actually embody what you have learned, right? It's not going to be in the form of mental understanding. No, I actually am the thing that I climbed. Congratulations, right? Congratulations on my energy. Congratulations on my authenticity. Congratulations on my truth. Congratulations on my relentlessness. of my dedication and my commitment, right, to overcoming my mind. Congratulations to the fact that I finally realized that after 25 years, I'm gonna make the relationship with my partner work. Congratulations to me, right? Congratulations to me. And so your climb, whatever that is, right? And congratulations to me that I'm gonna be myself no matter what. No matter how much, no matter what my mind has to say, no matter how difficult, how unbearable that suffering is. And congratulations to me that no matter how difficult the situation my body is, I'm going to get myself together physically, and I'm going to be better than I ever was. And I've trained athletically. I've had all different kinds of movement in my life for like 15 years now. I'm going to be better than I ever was. It doesn't matter your circumstance. It truly doesn't. And sometimes those of us with the worst freaking circumstance are the ones who actually make that climb. So congratulations, you're making that climb. You're making that climb. You know, this is something that like people, until you have been brought to the foot of the mountain, you really don't understand what I'm saying. And this urgency, right? Again, people have found it in different ways in their life, with having to make money, having to provide for their family, right? It just looks the same it looks different for every single one of us, or it can look the same too. And maybe with various changes, right? In our unique journey, various differences. But we have come to understand what is possible, right? And in making that climb, we have become that very thing. And so without that climb, we may not have become that thing. That perhaps we can say is more true than anything, right? If my mind hadn't plagued me for 30 plus years of my life, if it hadn't plagued me, I doubt you that I would have this level of understanding. Literally, and now this power that I've come into, actually, as my mind is not just responsible for that, but my body is responsible for that, right? Having to come out of tremendous discomfort and sensation in my body, like literally having to come out of that is really what maybe even raised my optimal state, right? Made it even more optimal, increased my potential, where now in my optimal state, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is like, there's no mind, there's no fear, there's no governor here. And life really is about discovering your potential, your human potential, what is possible for you in this human vessel. And you see people all around you, right, that are living remarkable lives, that are shining, that are radiating, that are excelling in a way that you don't, in a way that you never could even imagine a human being excelling. They are something that you haven't seen in anybody, or that you rarely see in anybody, or maybe that you have never seen in your life, because it is the evidence of what is possible. And I want to tell you again, right, the way that person has often come into that optimal state is suffering. It's because they didn't have a choice. And so the ways in your life that you don't have a choice, you know right away, oh my gosh, that's it. Like that's, you know, that's the universe calling. Because with choice along the way, all along the way with choice, I wouldn't have made it here. Right? If I could choose, I would choose comfort every single time. Every single time. Give me comfort every single time. Right? Until the comfort that I realized that I actually wanted was the body that feels good, so I ate differently. Or the state that I wanted, so I had my morning routine. Or how I felt in my body, so I exercised honesty and I spoke the truth, until that became my comfort. But guess what? Those things became my comfort because at some point I also didn't have a choice. And slowly those things started feeling better than the old way. And this really is like life in a nutshell, right? It's always working for us every single moment. That adversity, that difficulty, that challenge is always, it's ultimately, it's our favor as human beings. Because without that, I mean, we wouldn't experience the life that we want to. We would never achieve our optimal state. We would have nothing to give. We would have no richness of our inner world, of our inner experience. We would have none whatsoever. And so, yes, that climb is the most insane climb that you've ever made up to date. And it's going to require all of you and more, where you're not even gonna know. You're not gonna be able to see, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna come out of my body feeling this way. I have no freaking clue. I really have no clue. Right? Or I have no idea how I'm gonna make this amount of money to feed my family. I have no clue. But when you set an intention for something, you are bound to come across the way. And as you walk on the way appears. The rest of the way, every next step appears, right? You're finding your way. And that's just how it works. Like, you don't get to see the top of the mountain from the bottom. You don't. Especially from the bottom, right? From far away, you can see it. Right? You can see the mountain peak, right? But from the bottom, you can only see the bottom, right? Even when you look up, you can't see the top. At most, you could just see the rock that's like right above you. This is life. Right? Life is, it's about being at the foot, right? So whatever gets you to the foot of the mountain, then making the climb. And guess what? Once you make that climb, the next mountain at that level will present itself to you. Right? So the next mountain isn't on the ground floor anymore. Now the new ground floor is the top of the last mountain. And you're going to make the climb again. Right? And in this way, you're going to keep climbing mountains in your lifetime. Because this is what you've been given, right? And in the same way, right? You're not going to have a choice in the next one either. Because what looked like comfortable to you before is no longer comfortable to you at this level. Right? So something in you is going to feel so uncomfortable that it's going to make that climb. It's going to make that climb. And I don't know what that feels like in here, right? I just know that the challenge that we experience, right, it also matches where we are. It matches our current level. And that's life in a nutshell, right? Being at the foot, climbing, again, being at the foot, climbing, again, being at the foot, climbing. And we're always going to find ourselves at the foot of another mountain, no matter how many mountains we've climbed. But this idea that, you know, that I should be controlled by something outside of me, even my mind, right? Like, don't tell me there's nothing I can do because I have anxiety. Don't tell me that, you know, I can't actually relax for 2 minutes, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I can't do the right thing. I can't help somebody because my mind, it's gonna, like, don't tell me that, right? There actually isn't anything that I can't do. And when you actually come to that place, that state, then you realize the truth of what I'm speaking. You start to realize very quickly your power. It just takes a little bit of contrast in life. And especially when things get difficult, where you have no choice, that's when you remember who you are. Right? And so in those moments, like, just thank God. Because yes, it got so difficult, or it got to a place where literally it was the worst that it had ever been. My mind was the worst that it had ever been. My body was the worst that it had ever been. My finances were the worst that it had ever been. But that was all part of it, in the sense where when I had to dig, whatever I ended up coming out of, I realized maybe this optimal state now feels even better than it used to, than it did before this, right? And the times that maybe I accessed it before, and, like, you know, a few months before, like, my mind, my body had gotten, you know, this worse, right? So you see, like, everything in your life is serving you. And when there is sort of a forgetting, again, life will bring you to a place where you have no choice. When there is sort of like, oh, you've forgotten the thing, you've forgotten your state, you've forgotten your truth, you've forgotten your integrity, you've forgotten what is actually true, you've forgotten the real you, I'm gonna help you remember. And that's exactly what life does. Life is helping us remember all the time. It's helping us remember. And up until now, right, we've had many of these moments where life is trying to get us to remember, but we're staying in the comfort of our life, right? We're staying in the comfort of misery, or we're staying in the comfort of, not exercising or not being healthy, right? But then comes a point in our life where there is no choice but to do these things. There is no choice but to make money. There is no choice but to speak honestly and to clear yourself of anything that you need to say, right? For your own integrity. There is no choice but to spend your energy in a way that moves yourself forward in your life, right? That first gets you into your optimal state and then allows you to actually share or give or create or build. There is no choice for that. And this is why like life is so, I mean, every single person that has had a certain impact in the world, right? They are known, or they've built something, they've become successful to be well known. They had something, they had some kind of motivation that was fueling them, where they actually didn't have a choice. Right? They didn't have a choice when they spoke up for injustice, or they didn't have in themselves, there wasn't a choice. So if you are choiceless, if you are going through something physically, mentally, it's really to awaken you to your power. And once you slowly get into the state again, you're going to realize just what you've been forgetting. Like, oh my gosh, this is that thing that I've accessed before. And actually, I am capable of it. I am capable, and I'm going to do whatever I need to every single moment to climb the mountain that I've been assigned. It's my mountain. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I actually have a bracelet that says this. And I don't know why, I haven't been wearing it recently, or haven't been believing in it. But this is actually what I've been doing my whole life. I've been doing whatever it takes. I've been doing whatever it takes mentally. I've been doing whatever it takes physically. I've been doing whatever it takes to get into my optimal state, to be this version of myself, because this is not how I wake up. But now I'm hacking that more and more. Because this power, this is available to me every single moment. And just with one shift in one moment, right? To be able to come into this in one moment, right? From the time that I wake up to the very next moment, to realize this truth about who I am. That's really what I aim to do tomorrow and every day after, right? Until I actually wake up like this. Until this is who I am in my sleep. Until there's no need for a morning routine. Until there's no transition. Until the cape that I'm wearing is not underneath. It is actually me. And so I hope this reminds you of your power. Because every single one of us has this optimal state. And only a few of us have figured this out, right? At least in one way in our life. But that's all it takes, right? I think many of us have figured it out somewhat in one way in our life. Maybe we haven't gone to this point where we're like, oh my gosh, right? I will never let like anything control me. But there probably is a way in your life where you've experienced this. Where you've already surpassed all of the ways that thing was trying to control you. And if you have, then just know that is the truth for every single aspect of your life, every single other way of your life. There is nothing that actually controls you. You are under the illusion that it does. You believe that it does. And you don't believe in the sense that it's something that you can actually see. No, intuitively, subconsciously, in a way that you're completely unaware of, your body believes in that thing. Your brain believes in that thing. Very young children don't experience mental suffering, right? And as adults, we do, and we do constantly, because we also believe in that thing. Not in the sense where, oh, I know I'm depressed, this is not, no, but actually inwardly, there's something that is feeding that state. It's feeding it constantly. And it happens on such a subtle level that you really have to develop a very keen sense of awareness, right? You have to be here. You have to be engaged with life, with yourself in a way that you've never been before. You have to be you have to be present in a way where you actually catch the subtlety of how you're feeding the beliefs that are keeping you weak. They're keeping you from the very life that you're meant to live, the very person that you're supposed to be, the life that you're supposed to have. But you're keeping yourself in the current state because of belief. You believe in these things outside of you. And you have outsourced your power unknowingly. Again, this is very subtle. It's way trickier than saying like, oh, okay, I know I don't believe in depression, or I don't believe. No, this is like actual, when you know something, you are it. You actually are that in your energy, right? You are that very thing. So the evidence of that will be the fact that you're not bound to any of those things. I'm not experiencing depression. I'm not experiencing anxiety or mental suffering, right? Or I can't say that those things control me, at the very least. I can't say that that's who I am, that those things are the truth of me. And it's that power that you have as a human being. You have to approach it from that point of view, from that perspective, from that place in you, literally. You have to find the true place in you that knows. Because over here, this thing has been feeding those things in ways that you don't know. And this is a fact. This is why so many of us, right? This is the reason for all suffering, for all mental and psychological suffering, right? We're feeding it, we're creating it, but we don't know how. So first is the intention, right? To get into your optimal state, even if you don't know how, right? To try and find the different ways where you can get to the state where you can remember who you are without these things. And if life brings you to a place where you have to do this work, then consider yourself lucky and blessed and highly, highly grateful. Because many people will never be free of the external. Many people will never discover their power, but everybody should, because this is the reason for our life. It's to discover our potential. So if you've had experiences, or if you're experiencing something right now where you can't actually see a way out of, just know, oh my gosh, this is the universe bugging me, right? Encouraging me. It's actually putting me in alignment. That's what it's doing. And this is just the way that it's doing that. And yeah, it could be really bad. Things could be extremely severe. They could be the worst that they've ever been, right? You name it. It could be the worst that it's ever been. But it doesn't change the fact that's exactly what it's doing. This is just what it looks like. This is just what it is. Your job, and your only job, is to get in alignment with the truth of who you are, the highest version of yourself that you can possibly access, right? Literally, your efforts should be directed towards getting yourself in the most optimal state. That should be your entire day. Like, forget your morning routine. Everything that I do in my day is for that. Even when I spend time with my family, even when I call my partner, right? It is exactly in line with that. You're not going to find me doing anything that doesn't align with that. That isn't that. Any decision, any choice, any behavior, you're not going to find me doing it. because life has given me the impetus to put myself in alignment with this thing, and I cannot lose it. Right? Because I know that if I don't, right, the suffering in my body or my mind will get so great that I will not be able, like, I don't have a choice. But if you're watching this and it's helpful to you, then at the same time, you're really glad that I don't have a choice. And I'm so glad that so many of the people in my life and so many people in history that have made the world what it is, and people that have greatly inspired me, I'm so glad they didn't have a choice. Because I wouldn't have the great work that I do now. I wouldn't have the examples of my family members who not only took care of their own families, but took care of mine after my dad died. I wouldn't have their living example. So again, if life brings you to a place mentally, physically, just with no, like, where the uncomfortable is what used to be comfortable, but it's not comfortable anymore. Whatever that is psychologically or however that feels in your body, right? If it leaves you with no choice, just know this is my potential, right? And life is really, it's always trying to get us. It's offering us so many things all the time. Like, and if you know, right, your responsibility, if you intuitively know and understand that, right? If you can feel that in your body, you will know which things in your life are in line with your potential. Which things are the responsibility that when you undertake will put you in your potential. And that's really all that you need to do. So if that's having that conversation or not having that conversation, eating that thing or not eating that thing, exercising that way or not that way, or this way or that way, whatever it is, right? Working, meditating, journaling, helping your neighbor, whatever it is. At the end of the day, everything that we do is literally for ourselves. When people say, oh, you only think about yourself, you only, you did that for yourself. Of course. It goes both ways too. Everything that I do, all of my behavior, whether I do something or I don't, is ultimately for myself. That's how you should be operating. That's how you should be acting. That's the place you should be acting from in any given moment. Whether you help somebody or in that moment you don't, it's still for yourself. When you start to understand these things, your life takes a completely different direction, because literally everything goes in the straight path of alignment, which is your alignment. Yes, it is a straight path in that sense. Because you are aligned, right? Your mind, body, soul, and spirit are aligned. And when they are aligned, that's when you're moving forward in your life. So you have to find out, right? You have to find out how to get your entire being aligned. This is why prayer exists. This is why a million different activities exist. This is why chanting, affirmations, journaling, exercising, meditating, walking, running, people are doing this in every single way known to mankind. Having a conversation with somebody, connecting, right? Everything is for your alignment, ultimately, to get you into your potential. So when you start living in this way, yes, life is completely different. Because you only do the things, and you only are the person that is aligned with this for you. There's nothing else, and there's no other version of you. And this is just your highest, this is just the normal from now on, right? And you'll notice that when you're here, you're sharp, you're clear, you see through, right? You don't waste time on saying things or even thinking about things that aren't exactly straight and cut to the actual point of something. Right? You're very forthright, you're very direct, because there's no noise, there's no BS. And when there's no noise, when there's no crap, right? Then that's actually when you get to move at laser speed. Because you're not stuck in the lower vibrations and lower frequencies of chatter, what he thinks. It's all fear, right? All the stories, they're all fear. There's no rule book on how to be. I don't care what you've learned in your life about psychology, about human behavior, or even what your experiences have taught you. There's no rule book on how to be. Every single human being that you meet is living differently. And you're going to meet people that trigger you. You're going to meet people that are completely authentic. You're going to meet people that are completely not. There's no rule book for any of it. Nobody says that. Everything goes. Anything goes. Any way that we are, it goes. So your job really is just to let yourself be. Is to trust yourself fully and wholeheartedly. Because when you do that, you align your mind, body, and spirit. And then that's when you're living your potential. There is no rule book. There's only fear. And when you see fear and the way that it pops up in your mind, that's really your guidance system. Because you know, oh God, that thing is not true. Now I actually get to choose. Now I actually get to choose. And when you start aligning yourself, right, and achieving this state, you see how much energy you have. Literally, a moment before, you could have been like laying in bed, like, oh, I can't do anything. Or like, literally, it's like literally a fog, right? And maybe you even experience like the energy that is literally, it's trying to like succumb you and like drown you into the old way, right? Into the old thinking. It's a very real thing that we can experience in this body, right? It's something that wants to, it's sort of like that pull towards the old. We all have that, right? And it's gravity, right? It's like, you know, when you climb the mountain, right? Gravity is going to want to pull you down. But you have to counter it. And the way that we counter that, I mean, we're doing that every single moment anyway. We're doing that every single moment. Everything that we do in this life is for that. Right? It's like I'm going against gravity. I'm going against what I know. I'm going against what people think about me. I'm going against how I've been my entire life up until now. How I've lived every relationship. How I've lived and said every word that I've uttered up until now. I'm going against that. I'm going against everything that I know. And yes, right, as that has happened, right, my mind and body have, you know, done whatever, but I also realize when I'm in full alignment, when I'm in my potential, then these things they don't have a choice. There isn't any space for them. Because now I've taken up my space fully. And this is my potential. And when you start to come into this state, then you realize, oh, wow, all of this energy, right, that is now being freed now, this was taken up. It was being hoarded by all of the fear that I had before, right? Which was playing in all different forms in my mind, my body, right? It was being consumed. All of this energy that's free now, it was being consumed simply by fear, right? No wonder I couldn't get anything done, or I was so limited, or I couldn't function, or all this stuff. No wonder. Every moment it is your job, literally, to be in your optimal state. Because it's in your optimal state, right? That you start behaving and literally every single moment thinking or not thinking, right? But moving in the way that is precisely, it's direct and straight to the goal, straight to the point. It literally optimized every single second. And it utilized every single moment. And that's when you truly live. You truly live. And I'm so grateful, even just making this video, like the state that I woke up in today, and the electrical charge in my body, the really difficult sensations, like even just like the heavy energy that like wanted to be released in my brain, my body, that literally just feels like it's overtaking me. And I fought that for the last few hours, finally took a cold shower and sat down to record and realized, actually, this is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. Right? And so again, when you're in your potential, you're going to discover like what is actually in alignment with that, and you're going to do it more and more and more and more and more. Right? Again, because life has given you no choice, and in that sense, we say thank you. Right? This is like the ultimate like empowerment, right? The ultimate freedom in life, right? To actually see as not having the choice the same as having the choice. Like literally, it doesn't feel any different. It's just where I am. It's just what I'm doing right now. I'm equally grateful for both in my life. I'm equally grateful for the luxury that I have. I'm equally grateful for the luxury that I don't. Because all of it is just me at the end of the day, right? It's just me. And I embrace that wholeheartedly. I accept that like fully, and I live that truly. And when I live that truly, guess what? My highest offering, my highest work, whatever could possibly come out of me that is the best thing at any given moment, that gets to be. And gosh, if you've even experienced like a moment of that, you know how special that is. That's the whole reason that we spend hours just trying to get into this state, right? And hopefully it's quicker and quicker, and we get there sooner and sooner. And literally, it's just a moment, right, of getting out of bed where we have that, you know, we come into the state, right? That transition is so quick, and eventually we don't have to make that transition. But you literally have to fight the old with the new, and you have to do that every single moment, right? You have to do that constantly. Like, you have to be relentless and adamant and ruthless, and every other single word in the dictionary. You have to be so dedicated every single moment, especially when it comes to your mind and your body, right? Every single moment, you're in control. I hope this video was helpful. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Please join, subscribe, like, comment, share this with somebody, because I know, as somebody who has literally been controlled by the external my whole life, literally things that were externally, right, in my environment, and then people, right? That was a big one. I was controlled by people all my life. I let them control me, right? And then external things like appearance, beauty, you know, status, education, wealth, religion, all these things, right? Everything outside of me, basically. And then from that, being controlled, from going to that to then being controlled by my own mind, right, to then being controlled by my body, right, which again is the mind, right, too, I guess, right, but experiencing such discomfort in my body, literally where I didn't have any choice, right? If you or resonate with this, or somebody you know could really use this, please share it with them. I love you so much, and I just want you to know the point of making all these videos is for me, yes, but equally for you, because when I'm in this state, then I realize there's no separation. Like, this is equally beneficial to me as it is to the person watching it. So please share it, and I hope you get as much out of it as I did. I love you so much. God bless you. I could have like tears in my eyes. God bless you. Take care.